The Life and Sad Ending of Mel Tillis. Mel Tillis was born on August 8, 1932, in Tampa, Florida, to Burma and Lonnie Lee Tillis. While he was still young, the family moved to Pahokee, Florida. His stutter developed during his childhood, a result of a bout of malaria. As a child, Tillis learned the drums, as well as guitar, and at age 16, won a local talent show. He attended the University of Florida, but dropped out and joined the United States Air Force. While stationed as a baker on Okinawa, he formed a band called the Westerners, which played at local nightclubs. Mel Tillis has 6 children: singer-songwriter Pam Tillis, musician Mel Sonny Tillis Jr., Carrie April, Connie, Cindy, and Hannah Tillis. After leaving the Air Force in 1955, Tillis returned to Florida where he worked a number of odd jobs, eventually finding employment with the Atlantic Coast Line Railroad in Tampa, Florida. He used his railroad pass to visit Nashville and eventually met and auditioned for Wesley Rose of famed Nashville publishing house Acuff Rose Music. Rose encouraged Tillis to return to Florida and continue honing his songwriting skills. In 1957, Tillis eventually moved to Nashville, Tennessee, and began writing songs full-time. He wrote I Am Tired, a number 3 countries hit for Webb Pierce. Other Tillis hits include Honky Tonk Song and Tupelo County Jail. Ray Price and Brenda Lee also charted hits with Tillis material around this time. In the late 1950s, after becoming a hit-making songwriter, he signed his own contract with Columbia Records. In 1958, he had his first top 40 hit, The Violet and a Rose, followed by the top 25 hit Sawmill. Although Tillis charted on his own Billboard's Hot Country Songs list, he had more success as a songwriter. He continued to be Webb Pierce's songwriter. He wrote the hits I Ain't Never and Crazy, Wild Desire. Tillis continued to record on his own. Some well-known songs from his Columbia years include The Brooklyn Bridge, Loco Weed, and Walk On, Boy. However, he did not achieve major success on the country charts on his own. In the mid-1960s, Tillis switched to Cap Records, and in 1965, he had his first top 15 hit with Wine. Other hits continued to follow, such as Stateside and Life Turned Her That Way, which was later covered by Ricky Van Shelton in 1988, going to number 1. He wrote for Charlie Pride and wrote Ruby, Don't Take Your Love to Town, which was a hit for Kenny Rogers and the First Edition. He also wrote the hit Mental Revenge for outlaw country star Waylon Jennings. In 1968, Tillis achieved his first top 10 hit with Who's Julie. He also was a regular featured singer on The Porter Wagoner Show. Height of his career, things turned around in 1969 for Tillis. He finally achieved the success he always wanted with 2 top 10 country hits, These Lonely Hands of Mine and Shall Be Hanging Around Somewhere. In 1970, he reached the top 5 with Heart Over Mind, which peaked at number 3 on the Hot Country Songs list. After this, Tillis' career as a country singer went into full swing. Hits soon came quite easily, such as Heaven Every Day, Commercial Affection, Arms of a Fool, Take My Hand, and Brand New Mr. Me. In 1972, Tillis achieved his first chart topper with his version of his song I Ain't Never. Even though the song was previously a hit by Webb Pierce, Tillis' version is the better-known version of the two. Most of the above-mentioned song hits were recorded on MGM Records, Tillis' record company, in the early part of the decade. After the success of I Ain't Never, Tillis had another hit, which came close to number 1, titled Neon Rose, followed by Sawmill, which reached number 2. Midnight, Me and the Blues was another near-chart topper in 1974. In 1976, other hits Tillis had on MGM include Stomp Them Grapes, Memory Maker, Woman in the Back of My Mind, and his version of Mental Revenge. Tillis achieved his biggest success with MCA Records, with which he signed. It started with a pair of two #1 hits in 1976, Good Woman Blues and Heart Healer. Thanks to this success, in 1976 Tillis won the Country Music Association Award's Most Coveted Award, Entertainer of the Year, and was also inducted into the Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame that year. In 1977 he appeared on the game show Match Game. He achieved another #1 in 1978 with I Believe in You and then again in 1979 with Coca-Cola Cowboy, which was put in the Clint Eastwood movie Every Which Way But Loose, in which he also made a cameo appearance. Also in 1978, Mel co-hosted a short-lived variety series on ABC television, Mel and Susan Together, with model Susan Anton. Other hits around this time included Send Me Down to Tucson, Ain't No California, and I Got the Hoss. In mid-1979, Tillis switched to another record company, Elektra Records. Both hits in 1979. After signing with Elektra, he continued to make hit songs such as Blind in Love and Lying Time Again. Until 1981, Tillis remained on top of his game as one of country music's most successful vocalists of the era. Your Body as an Outlaw went to #3 in 1980, followed by another top 10 hit, Steppin' Out. Southern Rains in 1981 was his last #1 hit. That same year, he released Mel and Nancy, an album of duets with Nancy Sinatra, which spawned two hit singles, the top 30 hit Texas Cowboy Night and the double-A side, Play Me or Trade Me, Where Would I Be? He remained with Elektra until 1982 before switching back to MCA for a brief period in 1983. That summer, he scored a top 10 hit with In the Middle of the Night and had his last top 10 hit with New Patches in 1984. By this time, however, Tillis had built up a financial empire, thanks to investing in music publishing companies such as Sawgrass and Cedarwood. He also appeared in movies, including Cotton Pickin' Chicken Pickers and the Dixie Dance Kings, and many other movies. In 1979, he acquired radio station KIXZ in Amarillo, Texas, from Sammons Ruff Associates, which converted from top 40 to country music and became a force in the Texas Panhandle region. He briefly signed with RCA Records, as well as Mercury Records, and later Curb Records in 1991. By this time, his chart success had faded. Like most country artists of the classic era, his recording career was dented by changes in the country music industry in the early 1990s. He also built a theater in Branson, Missouri, where he performed on a regular basis until 2002. In 1998, he teamed with Bobby Bare, Waylon Jennings, and Jerry Reed to form the Old Dogs. The group recorded a double album of songs penned entirely by Shel Silverstein. In July 1998, Old Dogs Volumes 1 and 2 were released on the Atlantic Records label. A companion video, as well as a greatest hits album, were also available. In the 1990s, Tillis' daughter, Pam, became a hugely successful country music singer in her own right, with top 10 hits like Maybe It Was Memphis, Shake the Sugar Tree and the #1 Mi Vida Loca. The Grand Ole Opry inducted Mel Tillis on June 9, 2007. He was inducted into the Opry by his daughter Pam. Along with being inducted into the Grand Ole Opry, it was announced on August 7 that year that Tillis, along with Ralph Emery and Vince Gill, was to be inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame. This video is a tribute to what he has achieved. Thanks for your presence in this world. Please rest in peace.